Broadcasting live from the Business RadioX studios in Nashville, it's time for Nashville Business Radio. Now, here's your host.
And hello again, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Nashville Business Radio. I'm John Ray, and folks, this is going to be a good one. Tammy Wolcott is with us, and Tammy is with LBMC W Squared. Tammy, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, it's a pleasure to have you. Let's talk about you and LBMC W Squared. I think I got all that.
It's a long name.
Yeah, it tested me there. Tell us how you're serving the market out there.
Well, we provide corporate infrastructure on an outsourced basis in the areas of finance and accounting and procurement. And my sister and I actually started the business, Wolcott Squared, W Squared, in her bonus room 16 years ago here in Nashville. So we had sort of grown up in the healthcare world here in town, and we both were with different companies, but we were fortunate enough to be with a private equity-backed company that grew from really small to really large quickly. And we both learned that, leveraging technology and great teams to work smarter rather than harder, and applying really good financial discipline, consistency and standardization to all the practices really allowed the company to accelerate their growth trajectory. So, 16 years ago, after we'd been through a couple of different companies, each of us individually, we decided to start W Squared. And it really just offers that full accounting department. So everything from AP and AR clerks to CFO, with those fractional resources and more sophisticated systems. I mean, probably the easiest way to explain it is a business starts and they go by QuickBooks or some other entry-level accounting system, and they hire a bookkeeper who pays the bills and reconciles the bank statements and produces financials. But, at some point that may not work. If they start to grow quickly, or if they have some complexity, they do an acquisition, suddenly they need more. And we're a way to give them more without them having to go hire their own full accounting department, which obviously is a lot more expensive and difficult than hiring a fractional one that's the only thing we do. And procurement's kind of the same way. We offer the fractional resources, but we provide the services, but we also provide what we like to call it the GPO aggregator. So we went out and set up a strategic supplier contracts with lots of, those common things that every business buys. And we worked the contracts so that all of our clients get to participate under our umbrella contract, and everybody's volume goes in together to qualify for the volume discount. So it's a little bit like Costco in that, the more members, the better the pricing, but ours is more what we call, they're getting a higher level of service and better terms and conditions. And we're sort of managing those strategic relationships. So office supplies and shipping and travel and computer equipment. I mean, why would you not want to buy it at a discounted price that is more than you can qualify for on your own? So it really is a back office service, not necessarily super interesting, but definitely critical. Mm-hmm. So,
yeah, no, that makes sense. Let's talk about, I guess, maybe one way to dive into this thing is just widen out a little bit and talk about outsourcing generally, Tammy, and why you consider that so important to the growth of a business and the benefits of that.
Okay. Well, I mean, we initially got into it because, no business owner ever decides to start a business and thinks, oh, I want to pay my own bills and run my financial statements. They get into a business because they're passionate about building a software application or, providing a service. And so outsourcing allows you to, kind of focus on your core competency and your sales. And, you make sure that the backside, you're getting the information you need, you're doing it efficiently. And, honestly, you're staying compliant. I mean, that can be a big piece of it as well. So, we give clients best practices and, sort of that built-in business efficiency. I mean, we're subject matter experts on the systems that we use. And a lot of companies can't afford that expertise on their own. So they get to buy it in a fractional share from us. And we do give them a dedicated team, albeit a fractional team, but it's not a call center. You don't get whoever answers the phone. You have a team. So I think the clients being able to focus on what they want to do and make sure that everything else is just happening behind the scenes, and that's one less thing for them to worry about, is good peace of mind.
Yeah, for sure. And I would think today, with the talent shortage that we keep reading about, that even some companies that are big enough to have their own accounting may need your services because they can't find the people they need.
That's right. I mean, it is a staff deficit right now. I've been asking that question because Nashville is in a unique position. We have a lot of businesses moving here. We're competing for talent, but there's also just fewer people graduating with accounting degrees than there used to be. So the pool's getting smaller as well. I think we do a really good job of recruiting, but we also have an interesting play for accountants. They get to come and they don't necessarily get to do the same thing every day. Some people want to do that. Our team arrive every day never really knowing what might move up on their to-do list. And we laughingly say that if you come to W Squared, between the multiple clients and the, constant change of technology, that you get your experience in dog years. So, I may have some really young people working for me, but they're pretty seasoned.
I love that. Let's speaking of, I guess maybe aptitude and what lights your fire, if we will. Let's switch gears and talk a little bit about you. You grew up you had an accounting degree, and you got accounting and HR in your background with other companies. What drew you to processes, outsourcing, as opposed to all the other aspects of accounting you could be involved in?
I mean, I don't know. I guess some of it is that I like to work smarter, not harder. And the technology, this is quick aside. So my first real job was at a surgery center company here in town, the first one. And there was only one computer when I started. And the controller and I used to race to get to the office first to see who could get on the computer in the morning. So, I have definitely always understood the importance of, if you can automate something or you can integrate information or data, it's better. And the other thing was that it didn't really matter what the business was. If you're going to grow, that consistency and standardization really make such a huge difference. And so we call it financial discipline. If you can apply that financial discipline, then growth is less painful. Growth is hard. There's no doubt, but it's less painful if you sort of have a roadmap that you're always going to follow, and you're just moving to that path as opposed to, trying to say everyone's different. Every acquisition's different. Every new location's different. That can be exhausting. So I think that, I'm pretty methodical. My friends laugh at me all the time because I like everything to be symmetrical. I have a real problem with the order of things. So I guess it just came naturally that it would be a process improvement company.
Well, your so-called problem is a solution for everyone else's dysfunction, right, in their business.
Well, dysfunction or maybe just lack of attention.
Yeah.
I'm one of the few who would say that I find accounting sort of exciting. And I think I said to you earlier, I mean, outsourcing is probably the most innovative thing that's happened in the accounting world in 20 years. So I used to have to explain what outsourcing meant to clients. If we, went into a pitch and I said the word outsourcing and I got this glazed look, I thought this is probably not going to go well. But at the end of the day, everybody understands outsourcing now. It's really just to the level that you're outsourcing. There's lots of groups who do tactical outsourcing. They'll reconcile your bank statements or they'll pay your bills. But we haven't really found anybody that does the full accounting department and the full procurement department in the way that we do it. So there's lots of competition. It's just, what flavor.
Got it. Folks, we're here chatting with Tammy Wolcott. Tammy is the CEO of LBMC W Squared. So Tammy, this may seem like an obvious question, but I'm good at asking obvious questions. If I'm a business owner, how do I know I need your services? What are the symptoms I need to look for in my business to make me think I need to pick up the phone and call Tammy?
That's a good question, because there are some common themes. There's some that are not always obvious, or maybe they're a little more disguised. But I mean, obviously, if you have fast growth, or if we see this a lot, the team that you have is struggling to keep up with the growth or with changes within the organization, that's a good time to call because, we can really help. In some cases, we can help in a way that makes the rest of the business run better. I think the other thing is we see a lot. We actually get a lot of clients because they've suddenly had a complexity. It's generally they've done an acquisition or they've added a new business line, and it's something that's really out of their wheelhouse. And so we make sure that you follow the legal structures that have been put in place with whatever, operating agreements or whatever you have. And then we make sure your banking follows your legal documents. And then we make sure the accounting follows the banking. So I think that complexity is sometimes hard to navigate. And, we get a lot of clients that are have investors, and we bring a sense of there's some governance and compliance there that kind of goes together. The investors want to be sure everything's done properly, and we can ensure that, they're going to meet the criteria for an audit or for government reporting or whatever. And that is probably a good sign that you may want to consider outsourcing just to get a little bit more expertise. And then the last thing is really, LBMC as a whole has multiple service lines that really can provide the entire back office. So we have a group that does human resources and payroll and cybersecurity and technology and tax. And so, I call it the easy button. We're the easy button from a one-stop shop perspective to sort of do the entire corporate back office for clients and again, let them focus on their sales and operations.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. I'm glad you led me into that. So you had your company, you started with your sister for years. You made the decision, I guess, 4 years ago to sell your business to LBMC, become part of the LBMC family of companies and team members. Why LBMC? What does LBMC bring to you?
Well, so Mike Kane and David Morgan are the two partners that have been around for many years, and they tried multiple times to talk us into joining them. Mm-hmm. Yes, probably in my heart, I always knew that that was the best fit. But when we got ready to sort of recap, we'd gotten to a point where we needed to really take the next step. And LBMC, they provided all the same services that we did. So there was a safe place for all of our team to land. And honestly, they had more services than we did. So I had struggled before. We don't do tax in the LBMC W Squared vertical. We don't do, audit. We don't do litigation and valuation. So having more arrows in my quiver to solve problems for our clients was a huge plus. And, Mike and David made it easy. I literally met, I met Mike on Valentine's Day, and I said, "Are you interested in starting to date?"
I love that.
And he said, he was just like floored, I think, because he had asked so many times. He said, "I think we'll always end up together one of these days." And we were like, "Nah." And so he was so surprised. And we were part of their group within, a few months, and it's been a great fit.
That's awesome. Well, I think you just led into another benefit of if you're looking to outsource, or if you're looking to sell your company or become part of another company at some point, that's where you want to look at outsourcing and getting your processes and your accounting and all that stuff correct, right?
Right. Yeah, we definitely have the expertise. We've lived through so many acquisitions and so many capital raises. It's worth the time and effort to be sure that you understand everything about your financials before you go into a sale process or a investment process, because believe me, the investors or the group that's buying you will understand your financials as well or better than you. And so it puts you in a better negotiating position if you've got everything really tightened down and, you have good processes and you have good reporting and you understand, where your opportunities are and honestly where your strengths and weaknesses are. So we really like to do that. It's kind of fun for us to get a company ready to go out to that next level.
Yeah, I can imagine. And, it strikes me, Tammy, as we're chatting, I'm thinking about what you do, that, what you offer, the benefits you offer, the customer outcomes that you offer are something, it's kind of like getting a tooth fix. You don't know how much better your mouth's going to feel until you do it, right? And so it may be hard to get a client to understand how good it's going to be for them if they'll just take the pills you're going to offer them, right?
Right. It's work for sure.
Yeah.
It's work, but I think that we've definitely had some. We've had some really eye-opening moments for clients, and those are the ones that are fun for me. It's when they suddenly see their business in a whole new light because they've been so focused on either the development side or the sales side, and just to finally understand, what are the key drivers to your business and how do you measure them and how do you report them? It's like, I love to watch the light bulb come on.
Well, that's great. Well, let's get into some of those light bulb moments. I'd love it if you could share a success story or two, and you don't have to mention any names, of course, but so a client or two that you feel really proud of the results that you and your team were able to bring. Okay.
We had a large physician group that, frankly, they were very large. They had 50 physicians and providers and 250-ish employees, and they owned their own building, and they had no idea how they were doing financially. And every month and every quarter, the month was what are the financial results, and every quarter they didn't know how to say how they were truly doing. And fortunate for them, they hired a COO who had worked with us before. And when she arrived, she was scratching her head and she said, I want to call these folks. And, we went and met with a whole panel of physicians, their entire executive board group. And they said, well, why should we hire you? And I said, because I'm going to explain to you what your business is doing. You got to give me a little time, but I'll be able to tell you what your business is doing. And within, we did procurement first, and then we did accounting, and then we did technology. And within about probably 6 months, the first board meeting that I was on, I was able to give them financial statements. We were able to talk about how they, the profit that they had and what they needed to do to change, their trajectory. And every quarter after that, the board meeting got a little easier. I even did a class. I taught them how to read financial statements, which was really fun. And,
cool.
At the end of probably our second year, they were approached by a group that wanted to buy the practice. And that was successful. We went through diligence with them, and I got a call from the managing physician after it was over, as well as the COO who I had known before. But he said, we would have never been able to accomplish this without you all. I cannot tell you how much, the contribution that you made to where we are now is immeasurable. And, you just call me whenever you want a reference. So
wow.
It was really heartwarming. And that's a lot of people. That's, 300-ish people that, it was their livelihood. So It was great to see them have so much growth and success.
Wow. That's awesome. Yeah. And that really is immeasurable. That's not just dollars and cents. Although I'm sure there's some dollars and cents savings and augmentation you gave them, but to be able to get to that point successfully, it really is an immeasurable value. For sure.
I think the only other one that's sort of interesting, and they were a startup, and they were here in Nashville. They were a seasoned group of executives that were going to start a new business. They just wanted it to be fast. And oh, by the way, the first call I had was March the 1st of 2020. So
wow.
What happened right after that.
Timing is everything, right?
Yeah, we were doing all of that implementation and getting them all set up during the pandemic, and the worst part of the pandemic, the part that was the most uncertain.
Sure.
So we got their office set up. We had all their furniture delivered, and we had them set up with a UPS account, and we had them, their books were ready to go. And that one's been a fun one too, because, within 6 months, they were completely operational, and, a lot of the world was sort of standing in their tracks. So outsourcing in that regard, we didn't really miss a beat with the pandemic because we were already outsourced to our clients, but being out of the office for us was a little harder. We had allowed our employees to work from home some, but we just ramped it up. And I have been made a convert, I guess I should say, because I really thought that being in office was important, but it's kind of come full circle. And we hire people who have enough, self promotion and self-reliance to do the job at home. And they've done a great job. So I couldn't be prouder of coming through this, sort of whole, I don't want to call it, it was a crisis. I guess it is in some ways, but it's really been more of a conversion for us. And just see that we are still doing a lot of good work for a lot of companies. Yeah,
that's terrific. Tammy Wolcott is with us, folks. She is the CEO of LBMC W Squared. So Tammy, let's talk about, I guess, how an engagement goes. You talked about the physician's practice and kind of some of the early meetings, but if I get in touch and we set up a time to get together, how does that engagement start, and how do you diagnose what my needs are in my business?
Well, our first meeting is usually, describing what we do, and then they describe, kind of where they are. And generally with the type of business, I can say, well, I'm guessing you have problems with this or this or this. And they say, how do you know that? And I said, well, because I know business. I know the triggers and the problems and the potholes. And so we spend a little time. It feels a little bit like due diligence. We do a deep dive. We generally like to look into the accounting system. We like to talk to the folks that are actually doing some of the work. And, but with the request list that we have, in pretty short order, we can come back with a proposal. And if it's accepted, we do a kickoff implementation call, and then we meet at least weekly with the whole, all the stakeholders every week. There's lots of sidebars, but we get a system set up and we get a team assigned, and we talk about very interesting accounting things like the chart of accounts and how do you want your financial statements to look. And, we vet everything on their balance sheet, and then we pick a go live date. And all that can typically happen in 90 days or less. A lot of that's driven by how quickly the clients can get us the information that we need to get started. And some of it's hard, not on their part, but just hard access, like getting us access to the bank accounts to be able to pull down bank statements, or getting us access to, credit card accounts to pull down credit card statements. Those sometimes take longer than anything. But once we have the access we need and we've got the system set up, we do the trainings to allow the clients can get in and look at their financial statements if they want to. They can approve their own accounts payable bills if they want to. Everyone is a little different. We try to give enough flexibility so that everybody gets what they want. And it's a pretty seamless transition. Once, the go live date's been picked, it's far enough out that we try to have everybody ready so that we're all in agreement. And go live is almost a non-event. It's just a change of, who you're talking to. And most of the time, I have clients I've had for 16 years, believe it or not.
Wow.
I have clients who come and go, within a year or two because their circumstances change. A lot of times it's related to either they're bought out or, they become they merge with another group. Just different things, different reasons, but have had a decent number of my clients for 5 years or longer, which is pretty big in the outsourcing world.
Yeah, that's a great testament to the quality of your work. So congratulations on that. So let's talk about, I want to talk to those folks that have heard this interview and think I may need to get in touch. What's an ideal client look like for you, Tammy?
Well, an ideal client, really, there's no one size fits all. They're all, a little unique, but we generally, I have clients that are pre-revenue, and I have clients that have been, $50 to $75 million a year in revenue. So that there's no bookends on the hard bookends, but I think we bring the most value to those that either if they're pre-revenue, they have investors, or if it's a revenue base, probably in the, $2 to $20 million in revenue. They're established enough to, know that they are going to grow, but they might be lacking in the systems and the expertise that they need to get to the next level. And I think that probably the reporting can be an issue sometimes. That can drive a lot. So if you have like I said, the complexity and some of the other difficulties that a lower end accounting system won't accommodate, those are the clients who really benefit and see the most value from us. We have a lot of clients that have their own CFO, or they might even have their own finance person, sort of financial planning and analysis. And they do the strategy, or they work on capital raise, or they work on mergers and acquisitions. And we kind of do all the back end, the month end close, the stuff that's routine. So that's a good marriage too.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up, because you don't, in that case, you're making that person's job easier, or making them more productive to the entire organization.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. We try to give them back their swim lane. And when you have one person doing everything, they generally don't have expertise in something that they're doing, right? Mm-hmm. So the CFO doesn't always want to know or how to pay the AP, right? I mean, they know how to do it, but from a technical perspective. And the AP person can't make strategic CFO decisions. So there's a way to give everybody a little bit of each of those positions within an accounting group. And, if they only had like a bookkeeper, we can come in and help with the strategy and leadership. Or if they only have a CFO, we can kind of do everything else. And to your point, it makes everybody more comfortable and more productive.
That's terrific. Wow, Tammy, this has been great. I can't imagine after listening to this interview, there aren't some folks out there that would like to be in touch. So let's direct them. How can they find out more about you and your services?
Probably the easiest thing is to go to lbmc.com on the web. There is a page for, W Squared. It's under accounting services, but as I said, there's lots of services within LBMC that support businesses. That's really how they went from being just a straight up accounting firm to really a business advisory firm. So I would encourage everybody to go there. And I think there's also just a place to search for my name if you want to talk about outsourced accounting and procurement.
Terrific. Tammy Wolcott, folks, with LBMC W Squared. Tammy, this has been fun and informative. So thank you for that.
Well, thank you. And we're glad to have you in Nashville.
I appreciate that. I'm glad to be in Nashville with Business RadioX. And folks, just speaking of that, just a quick reminder as we close the show, you can find the show archive at NashvilleBusinessRadioX.com. All our episodes of Nashville Business Radio, and you can find us on your favorite podcast app. Nashville Business Radio is a search term, so check us out there, subscribe, and let us hear from you. jray@businessradiox.com is my email. Would love to hear from you, and suggestions are always welcome on how we can do a better job with the show. So for my guest, Tammy Wolcott, I'm John Ray. Join us next time here on Nashville Business Radio.